Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. I'd really appreciate it, and then I'd be able to deliver my best every day to your inbox, every watch, every minute right here on Watchbox Reviews. And if you like these watches, including this vintage Heuer, you can see our late model pre-owned luxury watches and vintage collection over 1,700 on the watchbox.com. We always post high-res images, boxes, papers, and accessories when applicable, and full pricing for every watch we list. Buy, trade, and sell on the watchbox.com. So on my wrist we have a vintage timepiece that is shockingly well preserved. This is a Heuer Skipper, sometimes known as the 7th generation Skipper or the 3rd generation 15640. It's in the 11063 case, and so though the case is stamped 11063V, nevertheless the reference for the watch is 15640, and this is roughly the 3rd execution. A combination of tricolor sub-register for the regatta timer, black bezel, black dial base, and immaculate condition in a 11063 tonneau style. This is a throwback to the mid-80s, as this watch was made from roughly late 1982 to early 1985. It is in extraordinary condition, and because it was ridiculously oversized by the standards of its day, in great condition and sized to suit modern tastes, it looks and feels like a modern watch on the wrist. It really gives up nothing. There's none of the vintage, petite, or over-refined sense of this watch. Leave that to Patek Philippe, leave that to Vacheron. This thing was large and in charge in the 80s, and it remains so on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. It's big, 42.5 millimeters from 9 to 3, not including chronograph pushers or the winding and setting crown at 9 o'clock. It's thick, 15 millimeters thick, and it's fairly long lug to lug, though it's nicely constrained in that dimension, so you can still fit it on a small wrist like mine. So 47.5 millimeters, you're actually going to find this is the most compact dimension about the watch, so it'll actually sit on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. It feels like a mighty block of steel, and with a solid case back and a deep case profile, that's no surprise. The bracelet is rather reminiscent of Rolex's Jubilee, and it feels as much on the wrist. It's silky. It's beautifully made. The contrast between the original polished and satin elements are still crisp. Nothing about this watch feels like it's ever been refinished. As you can see, the case lines are sharp. The sunburst finish on the tops of the lugs as well as the tops of the case. This was characteristic of many mid to late 70s watches carried on into the 80s among the survivors from that era. And it's usually the first thing that goes along with case bevels and sharp character lines when these are refinished. The watch shows no evidence of having ever been refinished. And you'll even note the presence of the original correct Heuer signed crown and the deeply knurled chronograph pushers on the opposite side. Checking out the clasp, you can see that it's in great shape, correspondingly signed Heuer, and even fitted with an extension, because this watch, in its day rated 100 meters water resistant with a unidirectional bezel, could double as a light-duty diver when you were done with your regatta matches. Now it can get a little bit closer off the wrist, and you can see that the watch truly is in time capsule condition. The dial is spotless. The case features only a few scratches and scuffs, as though the original owner wore it a handful of times and stuffed it back into the box in which it was sold. You'll note that even the polished elements haven't been scratched or scuffed. Their contrast with the satin sides, still remarkably sharp, and the bezel looks like the day it was made. Even the insert is in perfect condition. It is a unidirectional ratcheting action. Has a remarkably good detent sound and feel for something as old as it is. The dial is immaculate, absolutely spotless, no signs of refinishing, no signs of ever having been touched. You'll note the crispness of the colors of the tri-register. One of the changes that was made for the Skipper was that the caliber 15, which is the micro-rotor modular automatic chronograph, originally derived from the historic caliber 11 and used in this watch, but it had a 30-minute register originally. Now it features a 15-minute countdown with 3 sectors that represent the 3 segments of the countdown to a regatta match. A match is a race within a regatta. So you have that modified caliber 15 with the skipper function, so it becomes a 15-minute countdown. And you'll also note that the caliber 15 gives you a clean dial as you lose the hour register. A small constant seconds crosshair subregister takes the place of what would conventionally be a more comprehensive chronograph display on a caliber 11 or a caliber 12. Now about that caliber 15 in there, it was considered a more accessible version of the caliber 12. Still featured the higher beat rate, 21,600 vibrations per hour. Micro rotor automatic based on an old Buren 1280 caliber. In the late 60s there was the race to create the first automatic chronograph caliber. Seiko, the Hamilton, Buren, Breitling, Heuer conglomerate, and Zenith. And they all more or less wound up building their watches at the same time, but truth be told, Heuer was the first to market. What was the caliber 11 became the 12, became the 15, 17 joules, automatic winding, 42-hour power reserve. It features a little bit of an unconventional date-setting mechanism as you have to sweep through midnight back and forth to cycle the date. The micro-rotor automatic in conjunction with a 8000 series Dubois de Praz chronograph module gives us the watch that you see here. And the timepiece, again, beautifully preserved. If you wish to put it on an accessory strap and simply keep the bracelet for posterity and collector's purposes, it has a rather broad lug spacing of 21 millimeters, but you'll find no shortage of standard size 21 millimeter straps on which to throw this vintage throwback. A handsome watch. A sizable watch that really wears like a modern watch on the wrist. This is vintage without compromise. Excellent condition, mechanically tremendous shape, historic, and one of the last of the original Heuers. This watch made from late 82 to early 85. It was 86 that Technique d'Avant-Garde bought Heuer, famously a shotgun marriage that gave us Tag Heuer. So the watch here is a throwback to the previous era, a different time and a different sensibility. Throw it on your wrist on our website. Hi guys, I am here with the Heuer Skipper, and I'm here for a very specific reason. This is a non-lume shot to prove to you guys who may be wondering, because the dial is so clean, whether it features original tritium or if it's been relumed or even replaced. Well, you can see positively no superluminova on this dial, all tritium. You can see it, all of it, by the light of day on our website.